About a year ago, I reviewed Saints Row 2. I'm someone who's been a fan of the series for years and have often found myself in the humiliating situation of defending its legacy after the 2022 reboot set it on fucking fire. Saints Row as a franchise, though, is overall very good, in my opinion. Honestly, Yahtzee said it best.
2 and 4 were right bangers.
Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 4 are both stone cold classics in their own way, but there is a game in between, a transitional game. The Saints Row fandom is a bit like that of the Watch Dogs series, such as it is, in that there's two very different camps with two very different ideas on what the games should be. The biggest dividing line seems to be that of tone. The first two games were over the top, sure, but starting with the third installment, we ventured into the land of comedy. Now, normally that'd be cause for concern since how many video games actually pull off being genuinely funny, but that's kind of the interesting thing is Saints Row did. Let me say without question that the swing to comedy is in no way, shape, or form an issue for me when it comes to Saints Row the Third. But everything else is.
Bitch, you better be joking.
I do not like Saints Row the Third, and it brings me no pleasure to say that, trust me. I like this series a lot, and I think this game does several things really well. But for almost every improvement over Saints Row 2, there's a giant step backwards to accompany it. The driving mechanics, for example, are much better, but the gunplay is a lot less satisfying, not helped by the fact that a lot of this game is spent taking on generic bullet sponge enemies. The central villain is more intimidating this time, but the individual gangs are much duller than what preceded them. Some of the new side activities are great, but others are pale imitations of Saints Row 2, and in general, it just feels like a less robust experience. It's not true across the board, and that's why it's really no fun to shit on this game. There's clearly a lot of effort by a lot of really talented people. It just ultimately doesn't congeal. There are plenty of spots where that effort shines through. Steelport is a good setting. It's familiar, sure, but it's got more atmosphere than Stillwater ever did, and there's a reason they went back to it 2 more times. Also, creatively, Saints Row the Third gets a lot right. The Saints essentially going from a street gang to a diluted brand and having to get down and dirty again is both decent satire and a really interesting direction to take them as characters. Some of the gang from the other games are unrecognizable here, but that makes it feel fresher. Shaundi, for example, is a completely different character from the stoner alt chick we met in Saints Row 2 and has gone through genuine growth and development. Also, this game expands the main crew substantially and in mostly good ways, like Zemos, the pimp who speaks only in autotune, the muscular Oleg, and the late Hulk Hogan popping up as Angel, a character that somehow feels like both a dig and a love letter to his public persona. And of course, the hacker Kinsey, who became a fan favorite recurring character. And the self-absorbed TV star Josh Burke is hilariously utilized in some small moments throughout. The big misstep the game has narratively is there just isn't room for all this. There's a half dozen characters conservatively that I didn't even mention there, and for the most part it seems like everyone is fighting for an actual complete arc. It feels like watching someone balancing a bunch of spinning plates and then throwing all of them up in the air. I mean, it's a ballsy move, but how much credit can I really give if the end result is a bunch of shattered glass on the floor? Every mission introduces a new character or mechanic or weapon, and while that seems like a good idea on paper, I mean, open world games like this are supposed to feel like smorgasbords, right? But if nothing is given adequate development, then nothing is truly satisfying. Even so, having too many ideas as opposed to too little is a narrative sin that I can easily forgive, especially considering how many truly great missions are in this game. Skydiving into a penthouse shootout set to Kanye West's Power, the Tron parody that takes us into a neon dream world, and fighting zombies for Mayor Burt Reynolds. These are incredible and help solidify the series' go for broke identity. But these moments are fleeting. Most other missions in the game follow a standard copy-paste open-world crime game formula that's at best underwhelming and at worst an outright bore. The most emblematic being the mission My Name is Cyrus Temple. See, around the halfway point in the game, a high-tech mercenary group known as Stag shows up to try and bring the Saints to heel. And in this mission, the boss uses plastic surgery to assume the identity of their leader, the titular Cyrus Temple, and infiltrate their base of operations. That sounds like a really fun, really cool idea. I mean, playing as the man after a whole franchise spent in the perspective of criminals is a great subversion, and seems like there's plenty of room to poke fun at not just the cliches of other video games, but of the Saints Row franchise itself. You want to know what the mission actually consists of? Walking through boring gray hallways until you're caught. Then you have shootouts with knockoff Spartans from Halo in those same boring gray hallways. Come on, man. But again, dated level design is not a crime. This game came out 14 years ago. I could forgive all of this, all of it, if the game fucking worked. On a technical level, Saints Row the Third is unacceptable. Funnily enough, the graphical hiccups and texture pop in, screen tearing, the kind of things you expect in a game of this scale, largely are not an issue, but there are countless missions that are outright broken. Several times throughout the 15 to 20 hours I spent with this game, I had resort to some stupid exploit just to progress, and there's no excuse for that. You might say again, come on, it's an old game, but is it? I'm playing this on a PS5. This remaster came out in 2021. Who the fuck thought it was releasable in this condition? And nobody's patching it either since Volition went tits up, so it's stuck like this. And I'm sorry, but games are both pieces of art and technical products. The most important part of a game isn't the artist's vision, it's that it works. Think of a game like a big Christmas light display. Maybe the colors clash, maybe they complement each other perfectly, but you can only have that discussion if the lights fucking turn on. Honestly, a 5 out of 10 is probably most reflective of my experience, but I am willing to give this game the benefit of the doubt and assume that the company just completely butchered it for the remaster, and maybe the original version is better. I'm not going to play it. I'll never know. But in the interest of fairness, I will give it a 6 out of 10. I can't recommend it, though. This is T. Quentin 1, signing out.